Well, Jim, I may have deafened you, as you put it, but were you blinded this week by the wrestling that was on TV, specifically on Wednesday night?
Blinded by the light. Ripped off like a deuce, another runner in the night.
Always sounds like douche when you hear that song.
Well, it only when Manfred Mann did it. Now, he was a little looser with the phrasing. But the news was bad there, too. It was a bad show with bad news. We start out with Bryan Danielson. That's always a positive thing. That's always a winner. I dare him not to dress like he just changed his oil. None of these guys will dress like stars. But, okay, here comes Danielson. And he plugs the pay-per-view. And he plugs blood and guts. And all is exciting. And all is smiles. And then he says, I was. And he got the first word in there. And people kind of went, ooh. I was looking forward to Zack Sabre Jr. I was excited about blood and guts to get at Chris Jericho and his flaccid crew of cocksmen. I got to say one thing. That is the first time and probably will be the last time that we hear the phrase flaccid crew of cocksmen on a wrestling program, and I love it. Brian, you topped me when I called Shawn Michaels a fornicator on Raw in 1996. But there was good news and bad news with this promo, and the bad news he led with, he's not cleared to compete at either one of these programs because of what Chris Jericho and Jake Hager did at the garbage 10-man assholes in the arena match or whatever it was they called it. So he finished strong. He's talking about overcoming all of the injuries that he's overcome before, and he'll do it again. But, Brian, before I get into the good news that he announced, did you detect, I mean, obviously he didn't want to be given this announcement. He doesn't want to be pulling out of these matches. He doesn't want to be having to say that, but it's true, so he has to. But did you detect at that point that he was starting to, sometimes guys fire up because it's called for in the promo, and sometimes guys fire up because they're desperately trying to sell the unsellable in a positive fashion to the fans? I think he was trying to make his exuberance and enthusiasm, that's a Dusty, exuberance and enthusiasm be infectious to the people, but they were still like, oh, fuck, now he's out. Did you get that vibe is what I'm asking?
I think people were pretty deflated once they realized where the promo was going, and then once he started saying these things, and he tried to put a nice spin on it and say, I'll be back soon, but I won't be at the pay-per-view or Blood and Guts, which seemingly is this coming week, I guess?
Well, the pay-per-view is this weekend, and then the Blood and Guts is a free TV show.
That's this Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was coming up right after the pay-per-view for some reason.
Well, why wouldn't it? So then he says, but there's good news. I mean, how are we going to get out of this with good news? He's found the one person that he trusts to take his place who can wrestle and fight. We will be astounded. They really promised us the moon, but he won't tell us who it is. And he said, because I came out of the bad guy tunnel. I wish he wouldn't give the little smart nod, but we're going to find out Sunday who the replacement is. Some people are saying it's Claudio Cesaro. He would fit the guy that can technically wrestle excellently. He can fit a guy that can fight. I don't know if we're going to be astounded.
I don't know if AEW needs another WWE guy.
Well, but I mean,
as good as he is,
don't blame Claudio because he took the job. He doesn't have the WWE mindset. He wasn't trained there. Hopefully, he doesn't have any of the stink on him, and he's learned some good things without learning the bad things. But, anyway, I'm not sure this made it to chicken salad. They were trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. I'm not sure this made it. But as Danielson finished, here comes Zack Sabre Jr., who I have never seen before, but I've heard the name. It's a name that sticks with you.
We just heard his promo on the drive-thru.
Right. Well, also, I mean, I've heard of him reading results and on the internet, etc. I've heard the name for a while, Zack Sabre Jr. I never heard of Zack Sabre Sr. He must not have got over. But here comes Zack Sabre Jr., and at least he was dressed for television. he looked quite nifty in his outfit, but he looks like another generic 20-something-year-old male model guy with a generic haircut. I've heard he can wrestle. Will we be pleasantly surprised when we see him? Do you know anything about him?
I've seen him. He's very, very talented. And I think the biggest issue I've had with him is just he's so skinny. Now, I haven't seen him in a few years, so we'll see how he looks. But he was a really, really good, serious in-ring wrestler who was just very, very skinny. And sometimes that, affects the way you see someone.
Well, he had the suit on, so we can't tell. But I don't know. Adam Cole, later on, he looked skinny in a suit. Well, he didn't have a suit, but he had clothes on. Fuck, if he had bricks in his pockets, now I don't know if he'd weigh 170.
Looks like he's wearing his older brother's clothes.
The leather jacket. Anyway,